Good evening, you're just in time for TV47 News tonight. My name is Musa Salah. Coming up in the next 60 minutes. Tonight, ODM boss Raila Odinga meets Mount Kenya Foundation Forum in his quest to woo the mountain. The meeting discussed economy and the 2022 succession politics. Also tonight, Nakuru doctor who allegedly killed his 2 children buried alongside the children. The wife says he was a loving family man.
I've never met such a beautiful soul, such a beautiful character.
Plus, the deployment of Pfizer vaccine in the country delayed due to lack of proper syringes required in the deployment of the vaccine. Welcome to the broadcast. Mini Mbesa is our sign language interpreter. TV47 News tonight begins right now. Former Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chief Executive Officer Ezra Chiloba has been appointed the head of the Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, for a 4-year renewable term. A Gazette notice by CA Board Chairman Kembe Gitura says the appointment follows a competitive recruitment process to fill the position. Chiloba replaces Francis Wangusi, who retired in 2019. Mercy Wanjau has been holding the position in an acting capacity. Chiloba was ousted from the electoral agency in 2018 after he was found culpable of accusations arising from an internal audit report on major procurement malpractices during the 2017 polls. Well, interesting developments there. I'm sure we'll be getting more reactions following that story. ODM boss Raila Odinga has met a section of business persons and leaders allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta in the larger Mount Kenya region. Odinga, who just concluded his tour of the region, has made several promises to the region that he hopes to harvest votes next year. Joash Wansare has the details.
As the clock ticks to the next year's general elections, ODM leader Raila Odinga has been meeting leaders from the larger Mount Kenya region to better his chances of succeeding President Uhuru Kenyatta next year. Today, the Mount Kenya Foundation tycoons hosted Odinga, governors, senators, MPs, MCAs, and opinion shapers allied to President Kenyatta in a city hotel. The meeting was to discuss issues of interest to the people of the Mount Kenya region.
The mountain that is climbed with 7 days, he did half with 1 day. You can imagine when he comes the next time, he will be at the peak.
Jesus actually entered Jerusalem is the way you did in entering that land of milk and honey, the Mount Kenya region.
At this particular time, when we are 304 days to the next election, we need to focus now on our politics, because our politics will define our future. We will put our development projects on the side, but let's talk about politics. So we are here to listen to all the candidates who want to be the president.
Area leaders in the meeting said that they have been in talks with the ODM leader to ensure the region benefits from his presidency.
You know, we must change the narrative. Sisi kazi yetu hapo awali ilikuwa ni kuharibu jina ya baba na kupiga yeye na kumharibia jina ilikuwa ni siasa ya ushindi, lakini tuka overdo some things, tukaharibu jina yake hapa na pale. So we need now to inform our people, yes, ilikuwa ni siasa, this is what Raila Odinga, comprises.
The president was complaining when we were in Bomas about having a baton to hand over for the race. And with that baton, whoever was to pick it, alianza kupotea the different direction. Tunakukaribisha baba from 2019, you have been waiting for this baton, chukua.
People, the mountain will be looking for is that leader who will not seek followers, but will come to inspire us with what we need and what we can do.
While addressing the attendants, Raila promised to put in place policies to revise the economy through supporting SMEs. The former Prime Minister rubbished the bottom-up approach being propagated by Deputy President William Ruto, saying the region stands to benefit with his presidency.
And we came up with the flagship projects, SGR, LAPSET, SEZs, the tourist resort cities, the ICT city in Konza, and so on and so forth. And there's so many other programs that we keep. And if you follow it properly, we can transform this country. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Each and every Kenyan has a right to live in any part of the country, own property, and invest there.
The Mount Kenya Foundation is scheduled to meet One Kenya Alliance leaders on Friday to discuss matters of interest to the people of Mount Kenya. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Joash Onsare, for that report. The preparedness by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) for next year's general election has been questioned by members of parliament. The MPs now want the Electoral Commission to shed more light on the matter, as our senior political affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku now reports.
With less than a year to the next year's general election, members of parliament have laid fears on the credibility of the election, raising questions on IEBC preparedness.
Then this is a matter that can be discussed even with the Treasury. Let the Treasury also be invited, and so that we are clear that IEBC has no excuse at all. We don't want excuses, Mr. Speaker. And I can see already chances are that if we just keep quiet, chances are that IEBC is going to have excuses again for conducting sham election next year, which I'm sure this House is not ready for, and this country certainly would not be ready for.
Last time during the general election, the coverage was about 70% or so. And in terms of preparedness, because the law is clear in terms of the transmission of the results, the Communication Authority also need to tell the Kenyans to what extent is the 3G coverage, Mr. Speaker.
In a heated debate, MPs sought to know the delay in funding of the commission, which according to IEBC through its chairman Wafula Chebukati may derail the whole process next year.
From insider information within the committee that there is an intent to meet IEBC possibly within this week with your permission, Mr. Speaker, so that the House can be duly updated and the House can be, well guided in terms of the preparations we are having, instead of hearing those things we are hearing out there. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There may be some truth that they've not received all the money, but I believe they are going to get the money. And if they do not get the money, then they should come to this House, which is the budgeting house in Kenya, and we are able to speak to Treasury. They get the money they need, because next year's elections must be credible, must be verifiable, and must be to the excellent standards that every Kenyan actually wishes.
IEBC addressed concerns on two issues that threaten to derail the voting process unless resolved. First, the Commission submitted a draft of laws to Parliament for review and enactment to facilitate a transparent, fair and credible polls. MPs rejecting the finance capping laws, which have been lying in Parliament for the last 4 years.
It is true what Honorable But said
IEBC made budgetary proposals to the National Treasury seeking 40 billion shillings for the polls. However, this was drastically slashed to 26.3 billion shillings.
Well, away from that, emotions ran high during the burial of Dr. James Gakara and his two children, Dylan and Hailey, at the Ambaruk home in Gilgil. Gakara is alleged to have killed his two children by injecting them with an unknown drug and later turned to himself. Chichi Josephine now reports from Nakuru.
Emotions ran high during the burial of Dr. James Gakara, a 54-year-old doctor, and his two children, Dylan and Hailey, at the Ambaruk home in Gilgil, Nakuru County. Dr. Gakara, a gynecologist, died on September 22nd at the ICU facility at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital, where he was taken ill at the county hospital last week after he allegedly injected himself and the two children with an unknown drug, killing the two children. Gakara's wife, Winnie Adhiambo, described her husband as hardworking and visionary, who never believed in shortcuts to get what he desired. Winnie also read two children's stories to her late children, as it was the family culture at home during their happy times.
My husband was this kind of person. Nothing would shook him. He was so resilient. Dr. Gakara, very composed. I've never met such a beautiful soul, such a beautiful character. My family loved stories. I have two stories here. One was shared by my husband early this year, February. One is for my little children, a story they loved so much. I'll start with my husband's. One day, a farmer's donkey fell down in...
Dr. Norman Jogo, a close associate of Dr. Gakara, said it has been a nightmare for the doctor's fraternity since his demise, as many consulted him in their careers and described him as a hardworking man who loved his work.
And this was a man who did his work with passion. I liked his composure. He looked like he knew what he was set to do on that particular day. He was a very relaxed man. And when they began their work, he did his work with finesse. He's a man that I admired that particular moment and up to this day. Some of the surgeries that he did with such finesse that even to this day, personally, I don't think I've acquired that level of finesse. He was a knowledgeable man, very good at his work, and I would say we've really lost a great man.
Area Chief Felicia Mogi urged Kenyans to shun sharing misleading information about the deaths of the three and allow the family to heal.
Mengi tumeyanena sana kwa social media. Na unaangalia kabisa mtu anaandika na hajui bibi ya daktari, familia ya daktari anasoma.
Despite the many questions of what led to the death of the three, many have eulogized Gakara as a humble man, even as the issue of what really transpired remains a mystery. Chichi Josephine reporting for TV47 from Barok, Nakuru County.
Well, still on the corridors of justice, a witness in the murder case of Monica Kimani against Joseph Irungu, alias Joey, has appeared in court today after he was put to task to ascertain whether he was the lover to the deceased, who was murdered in cold blood. Now, speaking in court, Anthony Kariuki, the witness in question, refuted the claims that Monica Kimani was his lover, but pointed to the court that he received a message from the deceased at around 11 p.m. calling for help, which he found rather odd considering they weren't lovers, but they talked on a regular basis.
So, but she mentioned about having friends in the house.
But is she the one who did not allow you to the house?
My intentions were not to go to the house. Because
how did you express these intentions to her?
Because I told her, I'm coming to see you, but very briefly.
Just
that was on phone. The 9 p.m. news was on. On entering, I found 2 male adults while seated in the sitting room. Monica Nyawera introduced the 2 men to me. One as Mr. Walid, who she informed me was a friend and a neighbor. And the other one, a friend, Joe, who she told me works for Interpol. I then sat, I saw drinks which appeared alcoholic on the table. Walid excused himself and left. This was approximately 9:45 p.m.
Yes, that was 9:45 p.m.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But you were there at 9:30, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So, by 9:30, how many people were in that house? 3. We're not at war, just be frank. 3, isn't it?
Because this guy had excused himself.
He excused himself at 9:45. You arrived at
So-
9:30.
So meaning there were 2.
No, by the time you were arriving, you arrived at 9:30,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
At that time, how many people were in the house?
I don't know.
Well, 13 minutes past the hour, and it is time to take our first commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Do stay with us. Coming up, the Energy and Regulatory Body EPRA denies responsibility for the taxes in fuel prices.
Ability is common in everyone. Those abled differently also have immense ability.
Maybe we are not good in both, but we can be good in life.
They reach beyond the limits in their special, different way.
If the society can just be careful in what they call them and how they refer to them, that would at least be better.
They need to be loved. They have feelings. They would like to give love. It's a natural thing.
Catch their story on Beyond the Limit on TV 47 every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
The brain does not exactly know how to differentiate physical pain from the psychological.
Nilikuwa na feel nimefeel hata watoi wangu.
This month, our sisters, mothers and friends share their heartfelt stories of the pain and struggles with Joy Irongo.
We are all about being authentic and sharing our lifetime experiences to speak hope and empower a woman who's probably going through a rough patch.
Join us as we unravel the heartache.
So the doctor told me she has only 2 weeks to live.
Mimi nilikaa tu miezi 2 tu nikiwa na furaha kwa ndoa.
Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Are you looking to buy a home? Or are you looking to build one, yet you don't know where to start? Well, The Realtor is your home of real estate development information, whether you are looking to invest in the city or outside the city. We link you with the experts in the field, be it designing.
We have also a very nice lighting and then gypsum decoration on the top of the ceiling.
Roofing.
When you involve a professional in your construction, there's a difference. Project that has been delivered by a professional person and a project that has not been delivered by a professional person.
Interiors.
What we are trying to go is for a mix of European and Middle Eastern look.
Everything all under one roof. Join us every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m.
Any waste stream in our society can be turned into a revenue stream. Basically, turning lemons to lemonade. It could be a restaurant, animation industry, artistry, or even fitness. Just like the sweet and sour taste of lemons, businesses have their highs and their lows. Join me, Violet Njoki, on the grind as business entrepreneurs tell us the tales of their business every Monday at 7:30 p.m.
Our version of Kilimo Diaries is different. Crops, livestock, all working together. Everything has a purpose, from land preparation, management, and not forgetting the market space. No farmer puts down his tools, and neither do we. Your Farmer's Daily Diary with Sandra Wahito every Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
Alright, welcome back. You're watching TV 47 News Tonight. Keep talking to us. 22047 is our SMS line. You can also find us on social media at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47K on Twitter. The hashtag to use is TV47 News Tonight. Now, members of parliament have voted unanimously the NHIF Amendment Bill 2021, making several amendments to the bill which seeks to amend, or rather to make compulsory for every Kenyan aged 18 and above to contribute to be a member of the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF. Now, following the amendment, the bill establishes a national scheme known as the Universal Health Coverage Scheme. This comes amid pressure by leaders across the political divide to pass the amendment bill as the government prepares health cover for all. However, the legislators have proposed a fine of at least 1 million shillings for false NHIF statements and impersonation in a bid to curb fraudulent activities that have crippled the now centralized healthcare system.
As many as of that opinion say aye.
The National Assembly on Tuesday voted to make radical changes to the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, having shelved the government-sponsored bill for close to 4 years since it was tabled in the National Assembly.
In paragraph A by deleting
the bill proposed a mandatory monthly contribution of 500 shillings for every Kenyan above the age of 18 years, a proposal that the House members sought to replace with different rates for different people, according to their employment status. The attempts to reduce the premium from 500 shillings to 300 shillings failed, instead opting for the regulator to set the premiums according to the members' employment status.
That county rate or that, the employer will then be obligated to top up that so that all people at the base are equalized. We now have employed persons, we have self-employed persons, and of those self-employed persons, we will then have two categories.
If we go the direction of, trying to match by the employer and the employee, we'll be missing the point. It should be a shilling by a shilling. If it's 500 shillings contribution, then the employer gives 500 shillings, not a top-up of a balance amount for the balance amount.
Okay, now.
In their last debate on the amendment bill in August, a section of members of parliament were pushing for the national and county governments to foot the bills of the 5.1 million vulnerable households across the 47 counties, a proposal that also featured on Tuesday's debate, but was shot down due to its practicability at the constituencies.
That clause 10 of the bill be amended in paragraph A, by deleting the proposed new subsection 1B and inserting the following new subsection. 1B, subject to this act, the national government shall be liable as a contributor to the fund on behalf of the indigent and vulnerable persons identified as such, as provided for under section 1C.
I want to oppose the amendments by the Honorable Chair, because from what I had, if I didn't hear it well, it's like he's trying to introduce a system, kind of a CDF.
So then, therefore, I put the question, which is that clause 10 be amended as proposed by Honorable Oundo. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Many as of a contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it.
With the bill making contributions a must for every adult, members of parliament had a busy day deciding whether or not NHIF members would be penalized for defaulting their premium fees, with some recommending only institutions to be penalized for defaulting.
And this, Honorable Speaker, is to exempt a natural person, Honorable Speaker, from paying penalties, again, for the standard contribution, Honorable Speaker, where you are penalized for not submitting, that an institution that does not top up may be penalized, but when it is a natural person, Honorable Speaker, that they are not penalized, these ones who are doing standard contribution, which are largely voluntary, Honorable Speaker.
What Honorable Ichung'wah has said is very critical. For us to motivate the people who are not employed, the people who are hustlers, wherever they are, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we must give it a human face and to motivate them to contribute. So in case, Mr. Speaker, of a situation where there's a default, we need to look at a way of how to harmonize.
Okay.
If this person comes and give a justifiable, a justification, a proper justification.
Then we start now discrimination among the employers. So I think this thing we should just remove it, because it's not, there's no definition where we have put either self-employed, we have put indigent, we have put the unemployed. We have not defined the contribution by a natural person.
In the financial year that ended in June 2020, NHIF collected 59.5 billion shillings from its 8.9 million members, paying out 54.9 billion shillings, an equivalent of 92.2% as claims to members. The troubled state-owned insurance fund was counting on the passage of the amendment bill to raise more premiums boosted by enrollment, eliminating dominant membership and adding employers to the list of its contributors. According to official data, over 25.36 million Kenyans are above the age of 18 years, meaning the compulsory contributions would add at least 16.36 million new contributors, nearly tripling NHIF membership.
The biggest challenge that the NHIF has faced is fraud. People here at NHIF colluding with healthcare service providers or hospitals and making fake claims. So, Honorable Chair, the idea here is to introduce a centralized healthcare management system such that if I am treated at a hospital in Homa Bay and I biometrically am, seen, then immediately my record will be reflected in the centralized healthcare management system.
And the central system, which is linked to every other health facility in the country, Mr. Speaker, we are going to do away with the fraud, which is massive, and the big losses in NHIF.
Before NHIF introduced the fingerprinting, do they call it fingerprinting? Biometrics. I'm told the fund was really struggling. But in the last 4 months, the fund has been making surpluses. That just demonstrates to you that without controls, we have been losing a lot of money. NHIF has been losing a lot of money to fraudsters.
Paragraph B, by deleting the word 10 and substituting therefore with the word 1, the amendment seeks to reduce the penalty for the offences of making false statements or impersonation to 1 million shillings so as to ensure that there is a difference in the penalty prescribed for individuals and for health facilities.
The amendment has introduced the capping of treatment for chronic diseases like dialysis, cancer, heart and liver failure, with NHIF intending to cut current rate of 9,500 shillings for dialysis for a week to 6,000 shillings to reduce the budget by 1 billion shillings to about 2.7 billion shillings annually.
Say for dialysis, for instance, Honorable Chair, and you Kenyans will bear me witness, only this week we have seen those people who are getting treatment for dialysis expressing their concerns because of the challenges that NHIF has had in covering the benefit for dialysis. If your insurance covers, say, 10,000 shillings and you exhaust and you need dialysis of about 50,000 shillings, then the fund, if NHIF can cover for you another additional 30,000 shillings, you will be able to benefit from that additional benefit from NHIF.
You know, when it comes to matters of dialysis, Mr. Speaker, the cost has been extremely high. It's required that in future, Mr. Speaker, because when you look at some of those inputs in the dialysis, you find that some have been subjected to taxation. So at a later stage, I think the consumables under dialysis, we must go further and be able to exempt.
While still in Parliament, members of Parliament have raised concerns over the introduction of a professional course for the teachers by the Teacher Service Commission. The legislators have also poked holes on the modalities used in selecting universities that will offer the professional courses for the teachers. Paul Kirobi has the details.
That it is in the public domain that teachers are underpaid. Most of them have stagnated at the same job group for a period varying between 10 and 20 years.
A section of lawmakers have criticized the move by the Teacher Service Commission to introduce a training course for in-service teachers that is expected to run for 5 years. Former NAT Secretary General Wilson Sosion says that the commission is trying to breach some aspects in the education sector and is not building capacity as stated.
But what TSC is doing is not continuous capacity building. This is under course number 151 of 2018, rendered by Justice Baira Mongaya, and he stated very clearly that TSC is not a parliament to make laws and implement, and therefore there ought to be regulations.
The professional development course should be a modular-based training program for all practicing teachers. Members of Parliament have poked holes into the program, querying why teachers should bear the cost of the 5 years program and not the TSC as the employer. Questions were also raised on how TSC settled for the 4 universities that will be offering the courses.
From nowhere, you come up with a policy that requires them again to still spend money on their improvement, which basically they are to be improved to offer service to the employer, Mr. Speaker. Most of us even here, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament take refresher courses. We go for benchmarking, etc. It is funded through taxpayers' money.
Honorable Speaker, as Honorable Mbadi have said, how did they pick these 4 universities, Honorable Speaker? Some of them are private universities. Was there some kind of kickbacks, Honorable Speaker, that were applied by to TSC, Honorable Speaker? We must protect our teachers, Honorable Speaker, so I hope the Education Committee will protect our teachers. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, it will have budgeted for it. We want to know, Mr. Speaker, even the procurement aspect of how they did the procedure they used to procure the 4 universities, Mr. Speaker. Which procedure they follow? Which procedure they follow? Last thing, Mr. Speaker, about this. Teachers have committed salaries, Mr. Speaker. Teachers, when you check at the payslip of every teacher, Mr. Speaker, you find that they are down.
The move comes after TSC and Kenya National Union of Teachers NAT last week reached an agreement to end the 4-year stalemate that blocked the implementation of the teacher professional development modules. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, Paul Kirobi's report takes us to another short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Remember, you can follow this live broadcast on www.tv47.co.ke.
Ability is common in everyone. Those abled differently also have immense ability.
Maybe we are not good in both, but we can be good in life.
They reach beyond the limits in their special, different way.
If the society can just be careful in what they call them and how they refer to them, that would at least be better.
They need to be loved. They have feelings. They would like to give love. It's a natural thing.
Catch their story on Beyond the Limit on TV47 every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
The brain does not exactly know how to differentiate physical pain from the psychological.
Nilikuwa na feel nimefeel hata watoi wangu.
This month, our sisters, mothers and friends share their heartfelt stories of the pain and struggles with Joy Irongo.
We are all about being authentic and sharing our lifetime experiences to speak hope and empower a woman who's probably going through a rough patch.
Join us as we unravel the heartache.
So the doctor told me she has only 2 weeks to live.
Mimi nilikaa tu
miezi 2 tu nikiwa na furaha kwa ndoa.
Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Are you looking to buy a home, or are you looking to build one, yet you don't know where to start? Well, The Realtor is your home of real estate development information, whether you are looking to invest in the city or outside the city. We link you with the experts in the field, be it designing.
We have also a very nice lighting and gypsum decoration on the top of the ceiling.
Roofing.
When you involve a professional in your construction, there is a difference. Project that has been delivered by a professional person and a project that has not been delivered by a professional person.
Interiors.
What we are trying to go is for a mix of European and Middle Eastern look.
Everything all under one roof. Join us every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m.
Any waste stream in our society can be turned into a revenue stream. Basically, turning lemons to lemonade. It could be a restaurant, animation industry, artistry, or even fitness. Just like the sweet and sour taste of lemons, businesses have their highs and their lows. Join me, Violet and Jackie, on the grind as business entrepreneurs tell us the tales of their business every Monday at 7:30 p.m.
Our version of Kilimo Diaries is different. Crops, livestock, all working together. Everything has a purpose, from land preparation, management, and not forgetting the market space. No farmer puts down his tools, and neither do we. Your Farmer's Daily Diary with Sandra Wahito every Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
Alright, welcome back. You're watching TV47 News Tonight. Now, the government has launched a national vaccination campaign for inmates in all correctional facilities across the country. Willie Dennis Njiru has the details.
Ever since the first COVID-19 case was reported in the country, the correctional facilities have been put under restricted access to the public so as to curb the spread of the virus to inmates. Today, the national government rolled out a vaccination exercise to over 30,000 inmates across the country.
Today, we are grateful to have received from the Ministry of Health COVID-19 vaccines to vaccinate Kenya Prison Service personnel and inmates countrywide.
Sisi katika hapa Kenya, tangu March 12 mwaka uliopita, tumekuwa na shida kubwa. Na ile maisha watu wamezoea sio ile ya kawaida jameni. Nyinyi ambao mko wafungwa mnajua hivyo.
For months, inmates have had to use online platforms to access corridors of justice, with eminent challenges faced by those in remote areas.
We were under so much pressure to try and see how we can keep our inmates safe.
Tunakosa kuona watoto wetu, sasa wanaweza kuja kutuona. Hata kotini tutaendaga bila shida, na wengine wakikuja wageni wale ukujanga wakia kwa quarantine, hatuna hofu ya kuambukizwa.
Tulikuwa na shinda sana juu uoni watu wenyu, hakuna mtu mwenye anakuja kukuvisit.
In 2002, the Ministry of Home Affairs then introduced drastic reforms to the correctional services that laid the foundation for the open door policy, allowing relatives to visit their family members in prison before corona halted it.
Hii virusi jameni, sio mchezo. Hii sio mchezo. So I want to urge each and every Kenyan who is within the categories we have set to make sure that they have been vaccinated. You did not come here to die. You just came here to be rehabilitated, but not to die. Hapo tuko pamoja.
The two cabinet secretaries rubbishing claims that the COVID-19 rollout under the national government was triggering impotence among men, asking them to embrace the exercise.
Wale ambao wanasema ati chanjo hili sijui inafanya nini, ati wengine hawazai, wengine hawafanyi nini, mimi nataka kusema wazi, mimi nimechanjwa. Na mimi nasema wazi, mtu anaweza zaa akichanjwa. Na msiniulize ni majua hiyo namna gani.
Sasa kama waziri mwenyewe amechanjwa na bado transformer inafanya kazi kabisa na anaendesha hiyo mambo, sasa wewe unasumbuka kitu gani? Wewe chukua shindano, wacheni hii porojo hii ndogo ya huku akudanganyana huko jioni eti kitu inaweza kufanya hivi.
The exercise is expected to be concluded by the end of the week across the country, with promises of reopening the facilities to the public next week.
Maybe by Friday this week we should finish vaccinating the staff of prisons wote. Kufikia weekend hii ili sasa tuanze mpango mpya wa kufungua jela ili sasa familia zenu wakuje kuwatembelea.
It is a reprieve for many of the families within the country that they will be having a chance to mingle with their relatives in the correction facilities. Reporting for TV47 from the Naivasha Command, I'm Willie Dennis Njiro.
Well, Kenya joined the world in marking World Tourism Week. However, for rather wildlife rangers, it is a matter of life and death to protect the wildlife. Andrin Kilemi towards Savo East National Park and has filed the following report.
Baba, katika jina la Yesu tunakushukuru, tunakuinua sana kibali kama hii asubuhi tumeamka salama, tutakapoenda kazi yetu kwa pamoja nasi, tutakapofika tamati tutakushukuru na kuhimidi. Na katika jina la Yesu aliye Bwana na mkombozi wetu. Amen.
Early morning at Savo East National Park, Adan Bonaya and Plimo Lawrence are up and ready for the day's activity. The two are rangers. They start their day with a word of prayer. As it is required of them, they make a call to the base headquarters for the morning briefing.
Tumeamka salama, area kazi towards Waduruma. Ya affirmative, ni namna hiyo, hakuna zaidi.
Plimo prepares breakfast as his counterpart patrols the area to ensure safety. As soon as they are done with breakfast, the two leave their premises for work. Being a ranger is physically taxing, with a typical day entailing patrolling protected areas, monitoring for any illegal activities, as well as tracking and intercepting poachers. Today, we take a look at what a typical day is like for a ranger here at Savo East National Park. Take a look. As soon as they're done with breakfast, the two leave their premises for work. As we make our way across the expansive site, we spot fresh animal feces and the rangers conclude is of a rhino.
Na mbona unafikiria ni kifaru na si mnyama yoyote yule?
Unajua, najua wanyama kama ndovu hakuna siku anagwara.
Okay.
Any place akipita tu ndovu lakini mnyama kama faru kuna mali specific point yake, mali ya kwara yeye kuna mali specific yake.
Okay.
Mali wa barabara anapita anaweza kuwa mehara hapo mali kama hii kilomita nyingine 5 ama 6 iko mali tena na mark territory. Huwa nini vivi mali kwara mali specific mali yote hivi at least kuna mali mali ashaweka territory yake.
They slowly follow the footprints with the hope of tracing the animal. During their patrols, the rangers sometimes come across sick and injured animals in the park.
Sasa nikiwa patrol nikipata mnyama iko na jeraha fulani, hapo lazima nitaripoti. Wana nikiona mnyama ambaye labda ndovu amewacha mtoto wake akiwa kando, lazima nitajulisha kwa through the chain of command, yani ndio base yangu kwamba kuna kitu tuliona mali labda ndovu amewacha mtoto akiwa peke yake, lazima tunaripoti ndio ipate usaidizi wa mtoto vile inaokolewa.
Wild animals and especially elephants often lose their tasks. Rangers attribute this to the many fights among different wild animals in the park.
Ama wakati wanakula hizi mamiti browse hii mamiti wakivunja hii makesha, some situation inaweza vunja hiyo, ni pembe yake inaweza vunjika. Kesi ukiona kama hiyo pembe imeanguka, lazima hiyo utaokota.
Rangers in the park face a lot of challenges as they patrol to ensure safety of wild animals. They are forced to walk for over 10 kilometers to and from work daily.
Kutembea naye ni changamoto, na wanyama naye kuattack watu. Wanyama naye kwa sababu unasatakiwa na mnyama tu abruptly. Hiyo ndio challenge iko na challenge pia. Tunasemanga ni Mungu ndio anachunga kwa sababu ni hatari sana. Watu wamepata majeraha mingi hapa kwa hii kazi.
Adan has been working as a ranger at the Tsavo East National Park for 10 years now. He tells me there is a lot of hard work involved in protecting the animals. However, there are also some perks to the job.
Mimi niko na 5 attack mimi mwenyewe personally. Niko na attack ya hii faru na ya buffalo. Wakati sasa amechomoka kwa sababu yangu nilifikiri kama anakimbia. Nikanini na pori hivi kumbe kugeukia kwa pori hivi kuchungulia nijue ni faru gani kumbe alikuwa na charge kwangu alikuwa atoroki. Ikawa sasa nimeepa na miti hivi kanipata kaniwai.
Kwa hivyo alikuumiza wapi?
Aliniumiza on my right left buttock.
After the day's work, the rangers return to their respective areas of residence. They hold occasional meetings to discuss matters of conservation. Head of Rhino Unit Tsavo East, Nicholas Chiveka, says being a ranger is not all seals and sunshine and requires a lot of commitment.
Lazima ni ensure the monitoring inaendelea mzuri kwa mapema asubuhi, kuhakikisha kwamba hawa rangers wakati mahali wameenda patrol, mambo ya monitoring, kuna gari ya kurudisha hao mpaka to their respective bases.
Tsavo East National Park is one of the oldest and largest parks in Kenya. It is situated in a semi-arid area in Voi, Taita Taveta County. As the world marks World Tourism Week, the park continues to attract thousands of tourists from different parts of the world. Andren Kilebi, TV47, Taita Taveta County.
Well, Andrin Kilemi's report takes us to another short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Do stay with us.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Ability is common in everyone. Those abled differently also have immense ability.
Maybe we are not good in both, but we can be good in life.
They reach beyond the limits in their special, different way.
If the society can just be careful in what they call them and how they refer to them, that would at least be better.
They need to be loved. They have feelings. They would like to give love. It's a natural thing.
Catch their story on Beyond the Limit on TV47 every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
The brain does not exactly know how to differentiate physical pain from the psychological.
Nilikuwa na feel nimefeel hata watoi wangu.
This month, our sisters, mothers and friends share their heartfelt stories of the pain and struggles with Joy Irongo.
We are all about being authentic and sharing our lifetime experiences to speak hope and empower a woman who's probably going through a rough patch.
Join us as we unravel the heartache.
So the doctor told me she has only 2 weeks to live.
Mimi nilikaa tu miezi 2 tu nikiwa na furaha kwa ndoa.
Every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Are you looking to buy a home, or are you looking to build one, yet you don't know where to start? Well, The Realtor is your home of real estate development information, whether you are looking to invest in the city or outside the city. We link you with the experts in the field, be it designing.
We have also a very nice lighting and gypsum decoration on the top of the ceiling.
Roofing.
When you involve a professional in your construction, there is a difference. Project that has been delivered by a professional person and a project that has not been delivered by a professional person.
Interiors.
What we are trying to go is for a mix of European and Middle Eastern look.
Everything all under one roof. Join us every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m.
Any waste stream in our society can be turned into a revenue stream. Basically, turning lemons to lemonade. It could be a restaurant, animation industry, artistry, or even fitness. Just like the sweet and sour taste of lemons, businesses have their high
of untold stories.
All right, welcome back. You're watching TV 47 News Tonight. Now, the administration of the Pfizer vaccine in the country has been delayed due to lack of proper syringes required in the deployment of the vaccines. This is according to the Ministry of Health, which says the syringes will be arriving in the country next week. Zainab Mohammed has the details.
Close to 10 days after the arrival of the first batch of the Pfizer vaccine in the country, the vaccine has not been deployed due to lack of specialized syringes required in the exercise.
The vaccine that we are giving Pfizer is smaller than the usual vaccines. And so we require special vaccines, syringes that can draw 0.3 ml. The ones that we have draw 0.5. And therefore, if you draw 0.5, you will either have, if you draw like 0.4, for example, you will have to push out the excess 0.1. So you will be wasting a lot of vaccines. And the syringes that are in the country, the other ones that we use, are not calibrated to 0.3.
According to the Ministry of Health, the deployment of the vaccine should begin next week after the arrival of the specialized syringes.
We are expecting the vaccines the day after tomorrow, the syringes the day after tomorrow. So, like I told you, we start deployment next week.
This even as the country received 210,000 more doses of the Pfizer vaccine Tuesday morning from the US government, raising the total number of the Pfizer vaccines available in the country to over 1 million doses. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
And in business, Kenya Airways and South Africa Airways have today signed a memorandum of cooperation with the aim of enhancing mutual growth potential between the two carriers. The two airlines are incorporating a longer-term view to starting a Pan-African airline group. Now, these joint recovery strategies and other cost containment strategies will aid both carriers to carry through recovering in the increasing competitive African airline environment and from current and post-pandemic business.